Next year I'll bring music.
That's it? That was it?
I came the first you know. Can't do it after that.
For any of you guys that have never stood on this stage and looked out on this auditorium full, you have no idea what a rush it really is. Holy cow. We've got a lot of other stuff to do, so we decided we'll do 2 songs. We'll start off easy with the JA, and we'll do our good old NAJAC feeling. And for everybody to remind, we got it down in our feet, we got it here in our hands, we got it up in our head, we got it here in our heart, we got it all over me. So let's see if we can get through that one. I've got that NAJAC feeling down in my feet, down in my feet, down in my feet. I've got that NAJAC feeling down in my feet, down in my feet to stay. I've got that NAJAC feeling here in my hands, here in my hands, here in my hands. I've got that NAJAC feeling here in my hands, here in my hands to stay. I've got that NAJAC feeling up in my head, up in my head, up in my head. I've got that NAJAC feeling up in my head, up in my head to stay. I've got that NAJAC feeling here in my heart, here in my heart, here in my heart. I've got that NAJAC feeling here in my heart, here in my heart to say. Everywhere I've got that NAJAC feeling all over me, all over me, all over me. I've got that NAJAC feeling all over me, all over me to stay.
Yeah, right? I produced a production of the musical Big River back in June, and most of the cast was kind of on the younger side, but you know, a lot of older folks too. And I was telling everybody how excited I was to be doing a musical written by Roger Miller, you know, the guy who wrote King of the Road. And it was like, silence. I had no clue. Like, okay, well, we'll just move on, guys. So, we'll start it off here. River for sale or rent, rooms to let 50 cents. No phone, no food, no pets. I ain't got no cigarettes. About 2 hours of pushing broom by the 8 by 12 4-bedroom room. I'm on that of means by no means. King of the
basically what this place means. So I just suggested that while we're here, maybe it's an opportunity for people to stand up just for a moment and just bring something back to life that happened. You know, I just looked up there, and it was just about 2 minutes, it was dark, but all I could see was people who had been on the stage, people we never would have come across. You know, our federal leaders, department heads, cabinet members, Colonel Sanders, Joe Theismann. Some yahoo from Omaha, Nebraska is in the same group of people like that. Plus with just people like us and the kids that we were dealing with and what they've become.
Good idea.
So, you know, if you've got just comment, I mean, I could see about 10 different talent nights, and knowing some of the kids that were on talent night and knowing what some of them did, we kind of laughed at it. We had the one kid, I think Joy caught him in midair. A big kid, looked like a linebacker. He was a piano player, and he was nervous. He was nervous. He was nervous. He was nervous. And I said, "You own the piano. You own the piano. You go play. You hit it. The piano doesn't own you. You play, and you are going to set the tone for a great performance." And he was tense, and everybody around him was tense. He went out there. He played. He got so excited. The curtain came down. Joy happened to be in the way. He come flying over, he leaped up, and Joy caught him in midair backstage. But every other kid after that went out here and just performed.
Three. And I'll tell you, from the perspective of that, to walk in here, like everybody, it really means something to walk in and remember after decades of not being here. But a couple of things, secrets of how to be elected NAJAC president. First of all, my first time I ran, I didn't make it, and the next time I had people helping and so on. But you'll remember you had to be validated and then give a campaign speech. And I stood on that stage and just stood there and stood there and finally said, "I don't know what I'm going to do tonight, but I feel like a mosquito in a nudist colony. I know what I'm going to do, but I don't know where to begin." The place took a while, and then everybody started laughing. I made a typical speech of, "I'll try to work hard, do a good job." But the humor, I'm sure, got my name, you know, and our current politicians ought to try that one. So the following year, as conference president, I was presiding over, you know, the presidents giving their campaign speeches and so on. God was sitting on my shoulder that day, because in Briscoe Hall or someplace, I overheard a conversation. And I was just standing there, and some other people were talking about one of the candidates and his eligibility to be NAJAC president. So I'm introducing the speakers. As I recall, the kid was from Detroit. And in the middle of introducing him, in the middle here, somebody stood up and said, "Point of order, point of order." Remember how we all learned Robert's rules. And he says, "I challenge that individual's ability to run. He's an officer of, he's a JAMCO officer, and they attend ex officio. He's not an official delegate, and he can't run." Wow, you know, and I can remember the podium, and I stood there, and I looked down, and I said, "Hannigan, you're gonna be embarrassed in front of 2,000 people." And then I heard that conversation. I said, "Well, so-and-so resigned as president of JAMCO and is attending the conference as a regular delegate." And I had just overheard that and was able to quote it. I heard the tape of the thing later. I kind of bumbled around, but the whole place clapped because they put down the speaker who had interrupted the meeting. And then at the same year, John Davis Lodge was the president of JA, and we were doing something, and he had given a speech and so on, and I was with him on stage, and he grabbed my hand and held it up, and he stood there and he went, "Smile to everybody, Mike, smile to everybody, give him a big smile." And that's what serving back in the early 60s was all about.
And Sunday afternoon, we practiced that, and we had to time it. because every year they did something to the hydraulics on the pit. It always took a little bit different amount of time to get up to the top. And so we would practice it and run the music, do the timer and all that, so that that opening night deal was a big, big deal. And there were several times when I was so excited to see that I abandoned my post back there so that I could be out there to experience it. That's
Walking in.
I was head of the House Committee, and I had a fabulous group of students every year that they were always so helpful, moving the signs around, going all the way up to that balcony with the big signs with the numbers on, so that the groups didn't always sit in the front, or the same groups didn't always sit way in the back. Those students were so helpful, and on BIE Day, they shone. They shone. They were so excited to meet our industry leaders, and we actually had a student from my area, Lorain County, who got a scholarship based on meeting a gentleman from a university that was here on BIE Day. It was wonderful, and it's wonderful to be back here. I feel like I'm back in my second home again. Thank you.
I'm not going to stand for obvious reasons, but I remember whatever year it was that we were Briscoe bunnies, going to some farming. Of course, I was always running errands for whatever we needed on campus because I was from limited, but I remember going to a farmer and getting a baby bunny. Well, Debbie Boyd and I were roommates at that time in Briscoe, and that bunny stayed in our room. Well, I was allergic to the bunny. And I didn't figure this out for like the first day, but I was like all red-eyed. I couldn't wear my contacts and everything. So the Briscoe bunny ended up being in somebody else's room finally, but I remember that year very distinctly. Little bunny things all over the place. You know,
Yeah, I was going to say, as being part of the bowl, we kind of had a unique experience because we were in contest, but then at the end of our competition, we had a production to do in the auditorium. So we kind of had the best of both worlds. So we had that kind of experience as well as in the competition. And I mean, just in general, and you're mentioning working with the union folks. Yeah, when we first started it, yeah, felt those little frictions. But after you got to know some of the folks, I mean, I guess when I first started, Ollie was still here. And then Don came on, and I mean, they just over the years, you know, they turned out to be great as far as working with. And I don't know, I'm trying to think of highlights of games, but I just remember one question. I don't know if this predates the bowl people that are here now, but one of the bonus questions was you had to sing the theme song to the Beverly Hillbillies. And the guy, and they started singing it, and then everybody just started singing the thing.
Do they get bonus points for that?
Yeah, they got it right.
Well, I actually, in 1982, was the MC at the talent night, so I got to work with TJ and Pam and Tony and Al, obviously, and I had a great time. And, you know, 3,000 people would be nerve-wracking, but it was dark and I had a spotlight on me, so I couldn't see anybody, so I just had a great time. But, you know, on Tech Day or whatever it was, we were doing our last sort of rendition of I'm So Glad We're Living in the USA. And I'm not someone with any talent. And I'd gotten the dance steps down. I'm with all these people with incredible talent. And in the middle of the song, Al stops and says, Tommy Kushner, you can just hum.
TJ, I had the privilege of working with remarkable folks, Jack and Charlie, oh my gosh, for talent. But having been in this auditorium and walking in as a delegate and as Pink and as staff, every time the energy was so amazing. And doing the talent show, where we were kind of on an island, but we interacted with everybody, but we would have those really intense days, and then you'd have the show. And seeing these cool kids who came for junior achievement and had such cool talent. And we had the privilege, whether they were super skilled or not, to go through the process with them and encourage those in the ways that we could and be supportive in a different way for those that maybe weren't quite there. But I will never forget when we drove past everybody walking, because we'd always walked before then, and we had to have a car to do certain stuff, driving past that mass of humanity and thinking, thank goodness we have great security that can keep everybody on the sidewalks. And then getting here, and on that particular performance, and I was able to actually, great crew here, they were gruffy and tricky and wonderful. And they let me sit in the booth, God bless them, and everyone was really having a great time. And in comes security saying, you have to stop this. You have to stop these people. It could be dangerous. Everything's moving. The balcony's moving. It's like, that's kind of the job. But the great thing is that that's the energy that we all got to share and be blessed by, and it was truly a privilege.
I'm just going to go off of some of what all of you have done here and said and spoke about. And I have always talked about, we changed a lot of people's lives, and our lives were changed. I don't think anybody in this room would disagree with that. But we talked about Colonel Sanders and all the great people that came here. But we'll never know the greatness, and not just people who rose to occasions, but became the best they could ever be. And I just want to say that this theater was a big part of that. We had a lot of things going on all week long in groups and singing the whole thing, but this was always the central place. It was where they were able to speak and scream and yell and interrupt the speakers. It was so much excitement. And I just want to take a minute and just tell you, just a minute, we're getting around. I just want to say thank you for everybody who worked in the theater, who made that happen for the rest of us. And that you did your job perfectly. Thank you.
I've got one last statement. I want to jump up on the stage and get a picture of you guys in this because it's been unbelievable. Carol?
Can I just? A carol is a song of joy, and if you elect me conference secretary, I will make you happy. I won, and in 1973, I was a conference secretary. Dennis Houlihan, whom we all know, was the organist at the time, and he was kind of persnickety, so you had to kind of get on his good side. Anyhow, my longtime friend, we had to pick an intro number to come in on. And of course, the guys I was with, Jim Tompert, who is gone, Greg Snow, and David Rutland, they come up with Jesus Christ Superstar. And all I can say is, you got a full auditorium, and he bangs that bad boy out on that organ, and you walking in, and it's just, wow. And then, of course, because they didn't want to do this, we always opened in prayer. So I was the one designated to pray. It was like, gosh, I'm lucky. So anyhow, I wanted to share that.
Say one thing, is being a theater person or whatever, directing, doing talent shows is a different beast than directing or whatever. When you have a concept like a show, to me it's like, when I first get it, it's my show. Like I'm gonna do, you start telling people, I'm doing whatever, and then you cast it and it becomes our show. And then at one point you gotta let go, and it's their show. And then when it's over, it becomes my show again. And that process is, your family. You really are. You become family. You become so close, and those people touch your hearts, change your lives. And to me, the huge infrastructure of this conference, the process was sort of the same. You know, I'd be back home, I'm going to my conference, you know. We get there and it was our conference, and then individual things would be, you know, it's your JA Bowl, or it's your speaker night, or it's, you know, we would have been, it's your talent night or whatever, becomes part of ours again. And then I would go home going, my conference was wonderful. You know, I don't know if that makes sense to anybody else, but that's the way I feel about it. And I was blessed to not only do the talent, but I said, they say, Joy, you knew everybody. And it was because I did signs. Every unit would come in and say, we need these signs, each department, you know. So I print them, and I have little shirts, my halter, and I run across campus, and, you know.
It was your night job.
and hand out the signs, but it was cool because I may not have known you well in different areas that I didn't interact with necessarily, but I got to meet you all and recognize the name, recognize the face, and know a little bit about you, and that was a blessing to me too, that it wasn't, you know, just a little small corner of the world. And I don't know, I just love you all. I tried to explain it to my family. And, Translate, thank you all for making the effort to be here.
I tell you, there was one incident with talent night that didn't always go as planned. If you look at the red curtain in the front over there. Now, we had a young man come up to us on Tuesday morning, I think it was. He had missed the audition, but he wanted to be MC. He wanted to be MC. Will you let me try? Will you let me try? It was about 7:30 in the morning, I think. And we were trying to put the final, will you let me try? Will you let me try? Okay, what are you gonna do? Well, I'm Kermit the Frog. And he had the gloves, he had the feet, and he had the head. And he was good. And he was good. So he did make it, okay? And we got the girl up there. So we kind of built it, you know, through the process of introducing the acts and everything. Okay, so then we get towards the end, and he gets smitten with the girl, and he's talking to her, and he says, I was just wondering, we needed a stretch to introduce the next. I was wondering if you'd go to the talent night, or I mean, if you would go to the President's Ball with me. And she says, well, that's really nice of you, but you have a girlfriend. What would Miss Piggy say? And he said, well, what she doesn't know won't hurt her. So we had to set it. So TJ's up there with the lights. We got a backstage mic. So at that point, he said, well, what she doesn't know won't hurt her. So I go, oh, Kirby! Yeah! And then she went black. She went black, and he was supposed to dive off the stage, right? Except right behind that curtain, all of a sudden on the floor, I hear, shit, brick, brick. Brick. And when he dove, his head hit the brick. Oh, he dropped. We had to take him back. And he had to sit out about 2 of them. We would have had to, if it was today, we'd have to go through concussion protocol. He took his hat off, he had a little cut, he put some water on it, got a couple drinks of water, and then came back in and did the last couple with her and did it. But everything didn't run quite so smoothly. But I wanted to put a little lightness into it as well. But I hope there's still a few more memories, whether it's in this building or just in this whole campus. So
Let's hear from a groups leader, Wendy.
Sports, and there would be a whole section of the audience just like, yeah, you know, you're wonderful. Obviously, it was totally my personality. You know, and I remember sitting backstage and just hearing the energy and the people singing and all that as we were waiting to come on and say sports scores. And it was always just this magic. You could just hear the excitement as you were sitting there.
I've listened to all of these stories, and I'm here today because of a speaker that was on that stage. I think it had to be when I was a delegate. We would have different speakers from different other organizations. And the best one that year was a Girl Scout. Fast forward a few years, I have children, and I got heavily involved in Girl Scouts and became a member of the board of Girl Scouts. And went to the conference in 1991 in Miami, and Junior Achievement was putting together an alumni directory for a small donation of $25. I said, oh, what the heck? You know, I haven't been involved, but it did a lot for me, a lot for my confidence when I was in high school. And so I gave my $25, my name got put in it. Well, fast forward another 5 or 6 years after that, I get a phone call from this guy who had also put his name in that directory and looked me up. And here we are. We've been married 20 years now.
Now, Bill, what's the real story? No.
That's it.
How
That
many
is
church
the
houses
real
you have that directory?
story.
He only married women who were on NAJAC.
He's got good taste. True.
Through the years, you would change residence halls, you would change rooms, you would change buildings, whatever. But the one constant that always stayed the same was this building. Whether you were here for the assemblies, for contests, for bowls, for the different presidencies and everything, coming into here. Now I'm from Indiana, and I've had the pleasure several times since being out of junior achievement to come here for different shows that I've driven down here for, and every time it just hits you. You walk in the building and you're like, you just kind of remember everything. But it feels like the heart of NAJAC is this room, this building here, because you got everybody together. You were quiet together. You were loud together. You yelled, "We love you, Stacia," or whatever, to whoever was up on the board. But to me, the most magical time, and I know many of you were a part of this, and back then, however you were able to do this is amazing to me. But that final video put together of the remembering and everybody sitting, and we'd all be in this room, and a lot of people would be leaving the conference from here, so you would hug it out and oh, we'll never forget you and whatever from this room. But to watch that video and whatever last chance song was popular at the time that accompanied it, and you'd see your friends and everything from like 2 days before, and you're like, oh, that was so long ago. So that was always my favorite part of coming.
What did it feel like coming into this auditorium for things that weren't NAJAC?
Like you would, first off, you would look for your number. To see if you were on surprise. Always seemed to be. But, you know, just walking out in front of the fountain before you walked in here, every time. And I've come here before with dates to, like when Rent was showing here or different speakers that I would drive down here for. And they'd go, this is so confusing. Like, you know, once I got onto Fee Lane, I'm like, no, I got this. Don't worry about it. But you would just walk in here and it was just like this feeling, like takes you back. And my memory is shot, but I remembering things this week that I never would have remembered until I was back here in this building.
You and
I
Marky
don't
earlier
really
were
double anything, because I'm taking 2 turns here. But my daughter went to IU, and she was here for undergrad and master's. And in coming here for student orientation the first time, he sat right up there, and I said, "He, I stood on that stage. He spoke to the whole room."
Actually learning new things, of seeing, being in competition for most of my time, of hearing observations of the conference from other areas that just bring new meaning to, an experience from many years ago. The second is that, you hear the phrase termed of catching lightning in a bottle. That's what this room was for me, because the intensity of the energy, and energy's been used a lot, but it was just that magical force of it all happening, which leads me to my third point, going over what Jesse said. You know, there's so many things that we can measure and things that we feel, but to have maybe just thinking the number of people who came through here over all those years, and I don't know how you could experience this as an even achiever or even, you know, even more so as staff, but achievers, and it not have a foundational change in just how you look at things, what's possible, and what, you know, joining together with people who have like mission and saying, of not bringing that to the rest of your life and just seeing things through a whole different lens. So that part of it's cool for me to think about.
Go ahead, my son.
Go ahead, use this as a kneeler.
So you thought about not coming. I actually wasn't going to come. My wife said I need to come. My wife, who was never a part of Junior Achievement, not a part of NAJAC, but the year that we met was the last year that I attended a conference. And up until that conference, I had been trying to describe to her what it meant to come to this conference. She never got it. But she realized how much of an impact Junior Achievement had on my life. Not just working for Junior Achievement or being involved with the company program or coming to this conference, but in general, because from that time, everything that was done afterwards that either brought back a memory, people we stayed in touch with, people we communicated with, had parties with, had Halloween parties, and all of this stuff. So we all have individual memories from here, but I also think that the fact that I came here, and to be honest, I don't know all of you. Some of you really don't know me. You know stories, which may or not be true. But the stories are really all about the camaraderie and the friendship, and somebody mentioned family. I have a 35th year reunion coming up. I don't have the memories that I have with you, with those people that I went to school with day after day after day. We saw each other for a week, once a year, some for 3, 4, 5 years, some for 10, 11, some of you got to go longer. I was 11 years. Now, the other part of that is I really wasn't supposed to be here, period. When I went to my first Junior Achievement meeting after school, and I heard what it was, I was like, this ain't for me. I heard that I could make money. I could make money at 25 cents an hour. Somebody convinced me to stay. I became president of that company. The next year I won president of the year. Then I just happened to be at the Junior Achievement office that summer, and the executive director for our office, Catherine Haga, who's now in the Miami office, said, hey, I've got a ticket for this conference. Do you want to go? Free? I'll go. That's how I ended up at the National Junior Achievement Conference. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't realize how much of an impact it would have on my life these many years later. My wife understood that and said, you have to go. And that's why I'm here. That's why I'm sure a lot of you are here. The stories, the memories, the friendship, the family. And so for those of you that I've already interviewed on the podcast, we've talked about that. We've talked about, you know, that one thing that we remember, you know, outside of everything else, nothing that our family understands, nothing that our friends understand, but being here this week at IU, nothing can take away.
I don't think anybody said best week of your life. Maybe somebody did. But that's what this was billed as. And I couldn't, one year I tried to go, I couldn't. You know, the next year, we came from Boston, so you know, could only go once. So the next year I do get a chance to go, and I came here. And I was a little leery about that best week of your life business. And
I thought that'd be 5 games at Fenway Park or something, you know.
Only if you were playing the Dodgers.
We did that. So I came here with great expectations, but not really convinced. And just the nature of it, and all these people from all over, not just the United States, but we had a big delegation from Canada, and we had people from other parts of the world here, and all coming together and all being friends somehow. It just all worked. And we didn't know the mechanism that was behind it at that time as a student. And it was just a remarkable thing. And then coming into this building, I had never been in a building like this. And Houlihan up here on the stage, and how he got everything going. It just was the best week of my life, and it changed, with no doubt in my mind, the trajectory of my life. Good.
We all probably jump through hoops to be here at certain times and to keep our longevity going, because once you stop coming, I remember when Johnny Hurstel, for those of you who remember him,
Yep.
his wife had the nerve to have a baby in the time of NAJAC. He never came back, could never make it back. Well, when I was in the master's program at Ohio State, my professor scheduled our final exam during NAJAC. And I was like, okay, I want this degree, but this is important. And I made a pitch to him. I said, I need to take it before I go, or I need to take it after. I need to take it sometime. He had a friend who was here on the IU Business School faculty. He sent my exam to him. I was either head of info desk, or maybe I was still a unit supervisor. I had to break away for 2 hours, go to the business school, take my final exam here at campus, so that I could not interrupt coming to NAJAC. And I came many years after that. And I look back and I go, that was even more critical than I realized.